video, I'm going to show you how to use Google's free Picasa picture organizer to optimize a picture for the web. You cannot, or at least you should not, take a picture right out of your camera and upload it to your blog or to a web page without first redimensioning the picture to the final size that you want to use on your page, and secondly, making sure you compress that picture to get the file size down and thus get down the number of bytes that have to be transferred across the web when this picture displays. Frequently people don't do that, and it ends up slowing their page down and clogging up the transmission of their page, as all this data from these pictures has to transmit to the viewer. So we're going to use the free Picasa program to take care of that problem, and it's very easy to do. Start up Picasa, and Picasa is a picture organizer, and it also has a little editor in it. But basically it searches your hard drive, finds all the pictures on your hard drive, and lists them over in this area so that you can scroll through and see what you've got, where they are, and pick various pictures to work on. In this case, we're just going to pick one and export it. And when we double click on the thumbnail, we get an enlargement of the particular picture we're dealing with. And down here it shows some data about the picture, and the two important variables are the actual dimensions of the picture when it came out of the camera, and the file size, which shows here as 2.8 megabytes, which is way too much data for a picture that's going to be used on the web. We have to get that down to a more reasonable level, usually just a few kilobytes. 2.8 megabytes is great for the printing press, but it is not great for a picture up on the web. We also want to get these dimensions down. A pixel is about, it's a little bit less than a millimeter. And we've got 3200 pixels here by 2400, way too big. Want to get this down to something more reasonable. And it's very easy to do that. Once we've got the picture on the screen, we just use Picasa's export button down here at the bottom. And we click on that. And Picasa asks you, where do you want to put the picture once you've exported it? And you use the browse button to find a good place like your desktop so you don't lose it. And we'll double click on the desktop. And Picasa also asks you when you export it, do you want to put it in a folder, and allows you to name the folder, also to help you find it again. And we're just going to say, we'll just name it blog here for the exported folder. And then down in this area is where we actually do the sizing and the compression. Now, as you can see, Picasa asks you, do you want to export at the original size, which would have been the 3200 pixels, which we don't want to do. We want to resize this picture. So we click on that resize to, and if you're preparing your picture for display on the web, on a web page or on a blog, you probably want to keep it fairly small, because there's going to be other pictures on the same blog or on the same web page, and they all represent data that's got to be transferred. And in this case, we want to put this picture on a blog, and I know that the width of my blog page is maybe 500 pixels, and I want to set this picture into a paragraph, and I don't want it to take up the entire width. So I'm going to set it to roughly half the width of the blog page, so some text can flow around it. So you basically just type in the width that you want. I'm going to call it 250 pixels. And then we move to the compression area, and Picasa has some presets in here that are kind of dumbed down presets. I always like to use the custom one, and you use the slider to adjust the amount of compression. I find that 80 is a good balance between compressing the file and still providing decent output, so that the picture is still relatively good quality. The more you compress, the more you slide this thing down, the lousier the quality is going to get at output stage, and it starts to get really grainy and what we call pixelated. Start to get the edges start to get all these little artifacts showing. So again, set it to 80 and see how that comes out for you. Down here, we don't need to add a watermark. That's just a way of identifying the picture so people don't steal it from you, but it generally makes a mess of the picture, so I don't use it. And we're ready now. We've set the dimension and we've set the compression. You just click OK, and the picture gets exported in its new size, and it's fully compressed. What pops up here is the directory to my desktop, and if we look over here in the top corner, we'll see that folder that we designated to hold the exported picture. So I just open it, and I have my directory set up to just list the picture. You set that up here with this little thing where you can either show icons or thumbnails or just a list. I like the list because it shows the details. Or sorry, I show the details here, so I can see that the outputted picture is now way smaller. It's 13 kilobytes as opposed to around 3 megabytes. And the dimensions over here are now 250 pixels by 188 pixels. So we've accomplished both our goals to get this picture down in terms of its size, its dimension, and in terms of its file size. So it's ready to go now, ready to be uploaded to your blog, and it's not going to clog up your web arteries with huge amounts of data. And you're done.